Hey JoAnn, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks,
Awesome.
Brendan.
So I wanted to ask you some questions about uh, back when we first got started working on the Mesa Ridge property, and you got my offer on the Mesa Ridge property, and I'm just curious, what were some of your thoughts at first about that offer, and any questions or concerns you had about it?
When I first got that offer, I go, okay, this is an out of area agent. Just because of the way that it was written quite different.
Uh-huh.
And so it did get my attention. And I looked at it and I thought, is this for real? No, this isn't for real. And I looked at it again. I said, you know what? I'm going to call him. And so I picked up the phone and I called you. And we started discussing the possibility of buying the house in a different way, doing a short sale in a different manner. And it caught my attention. And it mainly caught my attention because of the fact that we were just days away from a foreclosure sale. And there was really not much we could do. We had tried and tried and tried to get the lenders to work a short sale with us. And we had many buyers along the way that we had lost. So I think a total on this property we had maybe 6 or 7 buyers. And we had been going back and forth for over 9 months. And finally it was going to go to sale. And I had short sale specialists come in, and it was just didn't work. It just nothing. It's like hitting our head against a wall, and just it was a little frustrating. So I said, all right, I'm gonna call the guy, and I told him that it was going to sale on Monday, and he took a big gulp and said okay. And he felt as though he could do something about it, and I said, all right, well, we'll consider it. Let's go ahead and get everything signed and get it off to the lender. And it was going to sale on a Monday morning. We received the offer on a Friday, and at 10 o'clock in the morning, the sale was postponed. And we were able to move forward and work a short sale.
And when you first saw the offer, were there any particular aspects about it that seemed, did it seem kind of low?
It was very low.
Did it seem impossibly low? Like
Um,
impossible to get approved?
It was very low, but I also know that, you always try and counter any offer you get because you never know where the buyer's going to go. But
Right.
that was one of the reasons why I took a second look at it and said, oh, there's just no way. We can't, we've had offers at, I think the offer was maybe at 1.5 or something, and we had offers at 1.7 and 1.8 that were turned down by the bank. And so I don't really know what really encouraged me to call. It's just I thought, okay, maybe we can get this buyer up. I think I really called just to say there's no way we can do it, because I try and return every phone call.
My
And
offer
then-
was 1.45, right?
Okay, then that was what it was. I don't remember quite what the number was. But it was enough to at least just return the phone call and have a conversation.
And did you have any other concerns about the offer itself in the beginning?
I had concerns about what the addendums would be and the attachments,
Mhm.
the disclosures and that kind of stuff. So you sent them over, and we went through them all.
Okay. And what made you comfortable about moving forward with working with my offer?
I think the thing that made me the most comfortable was the fact that you had a great phone presence, but just that there was nothing to lose. We had a deal on Friday that on Monday was going to go to sale, and I get an offer on Friday. So what is there to lose? There's nothing. You just move forward and see what happens. And my seller was about to throw their hands up, and I was about to throw my hands up. So it was a really good opportunity to just say, okay, do whatever you can. Not really thinking that anything would be able to happen except for it being postponed another month or two. And surprisingly, it was able to be completed.
I'm curious, do you think that that the sellers would have been better off if they had seen an offer from me in the beginning of the process as opposed to at the very end? Because obviously at the end of the process, there was nothing to lose, right?
Right.
But
Oh, at the very beginning.
what about at the beginning of the
beginning
process? If they had received it,
That would have been harder.
it would have been harder to sell it. But what I'm asking you is, given what you know now, do you think that it would have been in the interest of the sellers to have received an offer from me, if you knew me and what I could do at that point, from the beginning?
I think at the very beginning it might be a little bit harder because sellers want to try to get a higher dollar, thinking
Mhm.
that their property's worth a certain amount. But during that short sale process, there is something that happens with the seller, and they say, I don't really care what you do.
Right.
I just want to stay in my house longer. Can you get me that? And So obviously the short sales take some time and there's a process. So I just tell them if we can, we'll get it postponed and we'll try and work through the short sale.
Mm-hmm.
And typically they're really thrilled that they can stay there longer. So it's worth it to them to be able to do that.
Right. And of course, earlier in the process, my offer would have been higher because you were dealing with a property that was worth over $2 million at the beginning of the process, and by the time we were done, it was worth less. Or by the time you were done, it was worth less than 1.5.
Yeah, we were in a falling market, and we had offers of I think originally I had the house sold 3 years ago for 2.8,
Wow.
and the buyer walked on the 17th day, and my seller was not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were thrilled that it was sold for 2.8, and then when we listed it again, it was 2.495, and we just chased the market down because we were in that really spiraling down quick market, and you just couldn't catch up quick enough. So we ended up getting an offers 2.1, 1.9, 1.825, and 1.75 that were all turned down by the bank, and so that was just frustrating because
Mm-hmm.
we knew that the value was there. And that's what they should have taken. And I think they ended up getting the bank, 1.315?
135 is what the bank ultimately.
1.35.
That was the gross price. Their net was, below 1.3,
Yes.
1.242 or something like that.
So that's the good thing about Brendan is you bring in a low offer, but he's got the ability to be able to bring in the appraiser and the inspector and get this over to the lender and explain why the property value is worth less and to be able to negotiate that out. So most of the time we're not doing that with short sales. We're just submitting an offer and starting at that point.
Yeah, and that's the key distinction, I think, between how I do short sales and how most realtors do short sales is I focus on getting a conservative value established in the mind of the bank so that it gives more options to the seller and the listing agent, as well as to me if I can get my offer approved. But even if I can't, it's going to be, if I've got a conservative value on the property, then we know that we're much more likely to be able to get a retail offer rather, accepted by the bank. But if you have that BPO come in at current market value or maybe a little higher, then you're just never going to get an offer approved.
Right.
Because the market's wanting to pay a little bit less than the bank wants to approve, and then you're just stuck until you get them to do a new BPO.
Right.
Which is fortunately what we were able to do. We got them back out there and did a new BPO, and that's why I was able to buy the property, because they finally agreed to do a new BPO.
Well, the frustrating part about it is that the bank, we would give them a really good offer, and this particular property had a large amount of square footage for a neighborhood. So they were kind of thinking that the value should be up higher. But it was a problem property with a very small backyard and a house right on top of it. And yes, it was in a great neighborhood, but the value wasn't there. And then after we did the inspections, we found out there was a lot of things wrong with the property. So that's why the value was so much less. But trying to sell that to the bank, just talking to them, it didn't really work. But with the inspections and everything, we were able to show them why.
Mm-hmm.
They were also doing just BPOs by drive-bys. They weren't coming into the property to see the property. And you can't really do that. They're going off of square footage.
Yeah, that's a key factor there is we always tell them you've got to do an interior. I'm really surprised actually that they didn't.
Never asked.
That's crazy.